Well, let's complete our trio, shall we, of British world champions, because Ricky Burns has put Scottish boxing back on the world map when last year he gained and defended the WBO super featherweight title. Ricky, welcome to 5 Live Boxing.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Well, it's lovely to have you with us. How are you going to beat 2010?
Well, I'm just waiting on a date for my next fight. It's going to be in March. So I've started by training there. So I can only fight who they put in front of me. So.
And tell us about this fight. Is it a unification fight? Is that the one that you're thinking about?
Do you know, that's the fight I want. Obviously, when I was after the Martinez fight, I was obviously on the computer and I was looking at the ring rankings, and I saw myself number 2, and I thought, why not try and get myself in there for a challenge for the unification fight. I don't think that's going to be the fight that's happening in March, though. I think it's going to be the summer for the big one, hopefully.
Do you think it's going to be this kid Joseph Laryea, the Ghanaian, Ricky, the kid that beat Paul Appleby on your undercard last time out? The awkward, there's a tough Ghanaian, don't worry about that. That
was the name I heard it was going to be. Obviously, if you look at his fight against Paul, it's going to be a good fight. Obviously, the first few rounds in that are going to be crucial. Obviously, the first time I'm going to box him, with that height and reach advantage over me as well. So, but as you know, I think I've got what it takes to wear him down.
Ricky, we've just been talking to Carl Froch and how he was the underdog to beat Arthur Abraham in his world title fight, and then what was it, a week later you defended your title, but when you won it you were a big underdog as well against Roman Martinez. When you were knocked down in the first round, how were you feeling about what was coming after that then?
Do you know, it was a good shot, although at the time I knew it was a good shot I had been caught with, but it could have ended up a lot worse. When you watch it back, I was actually going back at the time. So I was off balance, so again it could have been a lot worse than what it was, but you can see when I got up I was fine. My trainer, obviously, you heard in the corner, they were annoyed because I was winning the round and just that one punch changed it. But in boxing that's all it takes.
You know, it's a mad thing this, Mick, because you think about this. This kid's 25 fights unbeaten, Martinez. He's being groomed, and that's the only word they use, to move up to lightweight, maybe go higher, big fights, guys coming up. He's the guy that's going to be, he's going to be the next Puerto Rican star. He comes over here, drops Ricky Burns in the first round, then Ricky comes back. You know, I was talking earlier on, probably to you or someone else. I was boring the ears off, and I was saying what makes a great fight. So Carl Froch against Abraham, flawless performance. Amir Khan against Madonna, he fought the wrong fight in many rounds, but it was a great fight. But then what about Ricky Burns? Home fans going ballistic, massive underdog, gets them off the floor against an unbeaten fighter. How do you separate those three?
And you were there at the, if you like, the eye of the storm, Ricky. How important are a crowd when you're down like that, and you had some other rough moments as well? How important is the crowd on a night like that?
You know, obviously when you're in the ring it's just like one big blob that you hear, but again I tend to notice that the last couple of rounds, that's when they spur you on, especially obviously the pace in that the Martinez fight was it. You could see that the both of us were really tired, but that last 2 rounds, obviously when you've got all the home support cheering you on, it just gives you that wee bit extra, so it does.
And Ricky, is it true that you were working in a sports shop while you were training last year?
Do you know, I still work part-time now, so I do. I've been working in a sports shop for the last 3 years. Do you know, I just keep to give myself something to do, to break up my weeks. Obviously, when you're training all the time, when I start training for a fight, I go into hibernation, I lock myself away, so it gives me something else to do.
What's your best-selling line?
Sorry?
What's your best-selling line? What do you sell most of?
Do you know, I'm mostly on footwear, but do you know, I just like to keep myself to myself, but because the shop is in my hometown, everybody that comes into the shop, I know who they are, so I do.
Can they quite believe it when, you're fitting them for trainers or whatever?
Do you know, I do get some funny looks, and everybody's always saying to me, what are you doing still, what I'm in here, patting in. But do you know, everybody I work with are great. I'm pal with a few people that work in there as well, so I don't really see it as work, I just see it as just getting out of the house.
Ricky, in the last few years on this show, we've documented the plight of Scott Harrison, and I know in Scottish boxing history people celebrate and lament the life of Benny Lynch, who died at just 33 back in the mid-1940s, and I know it's not just a problem for Scottish boxers, but alcohol and alcohol abuse has been a problem. I mean, do you like a drink? Do you go out much? What's your story?
do you know, I'm the total opposite for all that. So do you know, I can count in one hand usually the amount of nights out and that I have. Obviously, if it's a family occasion that I'll go out, but you know, because I don't drink and because I'm always in training, it only takes a couple, and I'm the first one sent home. So I'm at all the time.
But just as long as they keep on sending you home, Ricky, that's what we want, man.
That's the main thing. I've always got somebody looking after me. Just chuck me in a taxi and send me up the road.
Hey, listen, have a fantastic time this year, Ricky. Lovely to talk to you as well.
Thanks very much. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Ricky.
That's Ricky Burns.
You know what? We're talking
top
about him earlier on. You know, he started his career, you know, in fights he was meant to win, but you know, he wasn't. You know, he fought a couple of guys that were semi-close. Then he lost a couple of fights in title fights against good kids, Alex Arthur and Carl Johansson, but he lost them on points, and he was learning. Then he beat a British, who was the current lightweight champion, Graham Earl. Graham Earl had a non-title fight, and then he's kind of marched on. He is, you know, people throw that word around, old school. Football people talk about it, and rugby people always talk about how something was old school, better than. Well, this kid's around now. He could go back in any period because he fights and he's fought, and his career's been like a fighter from the 70s, Mick, like a Jimmy Batten or something.
And it's almost in unison that these people, all of those that we've been talking about tonight, David Hay, even Vladimir Klitschko, Thomas Adamek, Amir Khan, Froch, they've all lost, and they've all spoken about the importance of coming back from that adversity, how it's hurt them initially, but they've gone back and looked at why and how and what were the reasons, and it's worked for them. And in this age where still we seem to be obsessed with the unbeaten record, we've got so much proof around us of how important a loss can be if it's accepted in the right way. The 2 points losses that Steve was talking about, as far as Ricky Burns is concerned, were landslide points wins for his opponents.